Hey guys, what's going on? Campfire Nate here, and we're gonna talk about Batman versus Superman. I know there's a lot of people who are like, a lot of controversy. Man, this movie's awful, or man, this movie doesn't make sense. Well, I liked it, and we're gonna do a really cool review about it a little bit later. But what I'm gonna bring you right now is we're gonna talk about some of the things I thought was kind of neat, little Easter eggs, if you will, that were kind of inside this movie because this movie was loaded full of stuff. So, number one, first thing I want to talk about was at the very beginning. There's a huge for people who are Walking Dead fans. Man, did anyone else notice that Bruce Wayne's parents just so happened to be Maggie and Negan? I mean, come on, man. Somebody's got to be a Walking Dead fan for this to happen. I couldn't help from laughing at it. I thought it was kind of cool. It was cool to see Lauren Cohan and Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Both of them were the parents of Bruce Wayne in the little flashback. So I thought that was kind of cool. That was the first thing I noticed. The second thing I noticed was that we got to see, and I know we've already seen this a couple other times in the trailer, and it was actually seen the Robin suit. Okay, we got to see it. It was scribbled all over. It looked like it was a message from Joker. A lot of this makes me feel. I know there's been rumors that possibly they're going to do a Batman movie, and they're going to focus on the Jason Todd death, Red Hood possibilities. If that's the case, then this was a nice little kind of hey, we're just going to lay this out there, get this nice and set up, which is cool because I would love to see that on TV. I think that'd be a great storyline to do for a movie. But that was the second thing, kind of obvious. Anybody who's seen the trailer probably picked up on that. Some of the other stuff I'm about to talk about, just real fast, I want to go ahead and get the spoiler warning because if you're going to watch this, I'm going to ruin it for you. I'm just telling you. So don't watch this if you haven't seen the movie. The third thing I want to talk about is this another picture had come out about this before, and that is when Batman is having his like little dream sequence thing going on. He steps up out of a bunker and you see this like destroyed city, and laying out there is a giant Omega symbol. Now you might be like, I wasn't really paying attention, or what is that? Well, when you see the Omega symbol, that's kind of Darkseid's symbol. Okay, so be prepared. Darkseid's coming. Okay, and that's kind of what that was. And if that wasn't enough, as the sequence continued, and he's in the middle of fighting with all these different people. And we've also seen kind of little glimpses of it where it looks like these creatures are flying. The first look of it, obviously, is that that's got to be a parademon, right? Well, until it finally gets to that moment where Batman's on the ground and one walks up behind him to knock him out, I'm telling you right now, that's a freaking parademon, plain and simple. It's already, could it be maybe? I don't know. Yes, it is. That is an obvious parademon. So there you go. More Darkseid stuff. Getting you excited for Darkseid. I'm sure we're going to see that in Justice League, and I can almost guarantee that. So on to the next one, and that kind of the scene kind of continues as it goes through there. As you start to, you see Superman come down, and he walks in there, and he's all like mad and angry, and you got all these guys with like Superman symbols and all this stuff. I can't help from feeling like that's kind of a nod towards the Injustice, Gods Among Us storyline a little bit, maybe. If you've read that, I mean, you probably are familiar. Isn't that a video game? It is a video game, but there's also a comic series. And I think that was a little nod towards that, in that comic series, you have Batman and Superman kind of going up against each other. Lois Lane gets killed, and Superman goes crazy, and like, it's the Joker that kills her, and he ends up killing the Joker, and it just turns into this giant thing. And then Superman has like his own like army and all this kind of stuff, and he kind of puts himself up. So it's like that's kind of how it feels. Maybe that's like a little like just a little nod to it, or maybe they're gonna do something interesting like that down the storyline. I don't know, but that would be kind of cool. Either way, that would be the next one. The other thing I want to talk about is, as you remember seeing, if you've seen the movie, when Wonder Woman's looking through Lex's files and she finds the video of Cyborg. So we get to see a little interesting. You got like part of him sitting there and the dad talking. And then this box looking thing on the ground starts moving, and then it starts rebuilding Cyborg. I'm pretty sure 190% that that's a mother box. Okay, and if you're familiar with the comics, you know what a mother box is. It's a device that's used to transport from world to world. Again, another Darkseid thing right there, a mother box. So in the newer comic version, the one for Jeff Johns wrote from the New 52, a mother box is used to kind of fuse with Cyborg to kind of create Cyborg. So he's alive, but he's also got like this like mother box kind of parts inside of him, which allows him to kind of transport people from place to place, just like a mother box does. So I'm thinking that maybe that's a storyline, that maybe that's how they're gonna do it with Cyborg, how he becomes that person, which would make sense because I know Jeff Johns is, I believe he is also helping on this a little bit behind the scenes, so that would make a lot of sense. But that's what I think that is there. Also, the next thing I thought was interesting is when she looks through her file. The whole thing was that she was supposed to get this picture back. The picture itself shows her in kind of like the in the past sort of, but it also shows Steve Trevor, and we all know that Chris Pine has been cast as Steve Trevor, and he's right there in the picture. And when I went to see it with my wife, she didn't even notice it. So hey, that's something you might have missed too. There you have it, Steve Trevor standing beside Wonder Woman, and we know we're going to see a lot of him next year when we get the Wonder Woman movie. So then the next moment I would like to talk about is just the fact that they kind of mished a couple big comic book moments together, and that would be with, of course, the death of Superman, and then again of Frank Miller's The Dark Knight. And there's a couple moments, I mean, you already kind of got that Dark Knight feeling from this movie just with the whole Batman versus Superman thing. But there's some really key moments in it that I thought were a big deal. One, when they send the nuke up and it hits Superman, and you have Doomsday fall to the ground. You have Superman standing there up in the air, and he's kind of like floating, but he kind of looks like this like shriveled body. Okay, and then of course the sun heals him. It takes place exactly like that in the comics, except it happens on the ground. So that's a big deal because in that comics they fire a nuke and Superman's kind of caught up in it and it kind of like hurts him, but then he's able to like heal from the sun. I thought that was a big nod to the comic book fans for that. And then on top of that, there's also just with the death of Superman, that iconic image from the comics where Lois Lane is sitting there, looking at his body and holding Superman's body. You got that. You got that right there at the end. Obviously, Wonder Woman and Batman weren't a part of it in the comics, but it felt so iconic. Then you got the unbelievable, like the silver on the on his coffin, and just how that looked. I mean, it felt like it was just out of the comics, and it was really cool how they kind of meshed that, kind of put it all together there. But probably one of the coolest, and this is my last one, the one that's probably the coolest I liked was, again, it kind of takes place in one of Bruce's kind of like dreams or visions, if you will. And that was when the Flash showed up. And a lot of you might have been like, oh, I didn't know who that was. Well, you have to kind of go back and really pay attention to it. But he shows up and he's like, you got to get them together. And, you got to, Lois is a key. All these kind of like neat little things. And then he kind of disappears. Is very, very, very similar to something that takes place in Crisis on Infinite Earths. If you remember, Barry Allen kind of travels back and warns people about things. And one of the last scenes is when he this final scenes with Barry Allen is when he runs to Batman and he's trying to tell him about something and then just kind of disintegrates and disappears. So that moment there kind of felt a little bit like the comics, and we know that had a lot to do with this. So those are just some of the things I noticed. I liked them a lot. If you saw something else that maybe I missed, hey, let me know. I'd like to see that in the video. Leave me a message. Let me know what you think. And again, stay close because probably this Friday we're going to have a special guest with us, and we're going to do a really cool review about this movie. So look forward to that. And until next time, see you later.